All right, so we have this hood where we're stripping it down for another project, and we thought this might be a good opportunity to talk about some of our rust removal products. The internet has very divided opinions on what you should do with rust and what products you should use where. Generally speaking, I will say the number one thing you can do for rust is to totally remove it. So if you have the time, the money, the resources, blasting or mechanical stripping by SET, a DA, an angle grinder, those are all going to be your number one best options. That's not always the case. People can't always do that. So number two, what we like to use is either chemical removals or encapsulators. We've talked about encapsulators a lot in the past on our channel. So today we're going to talk about our chemical options. So these are the three most common things we'll recommend. We're going to talk about where you would use them, why you would use them, and most importantly, we're going to show you the results of using them on this hood. Now, this hood's been sitting outside for about 6 months, a year. It's got some pretty serious surface rust. Now, I said surface rust. It's not rotted through. There's no pitting, but it's not coming off with a Scotch-Brite pad and vinegar. So we're going to show you the results after using all these and show you how to use them and let you guys decide which one's probably best for your project. So my number one pick for surface rust, like we have on this hood, is going to be Fast Etch. This is a phosphoric acid. It's going to neutralize the rust. It's going to help promote adhesion, and it's going to work pretty quick for you. So the instructions for this say to spray it on, keep it wet for 30 minutes. I'm a little bit impatient. I like to help it along a little bit. So for Fast Etch, grab a Scotch-Brite pad, just something that you can lightly abrade the surface while you're spraying this on. So all you do, take it, spray it on your area. I'm being a little gentle here so I don't get it on the other spots. Make sure it's good and wet. Now what I'll do is I'll let that sit for like 5-10 minutes. I'll come back, hit it with the Scotch-Brite pad, reapply stuff, come back, hit it with the Scotch-Brite pad, reapply Fast Etch, and I'll do that for about a half an hour until this stuff is totally, all the rust is gone and it's totally worked. So I said 5 minutes we were gonna have to wait. It's only been about 2.5. And all the areas where we have some lighter, less severe surface rust, this Fast Etch is already pulling it right off. On this spot down here, you can see it's a little more severe. I think it's just some heavier corrosion. That was actually the part of the hood that was sitting on the ground. So maybe it got more moisture near it. So hit it with a Scotch-Brite pad real quick, respray it down, let it sit for a little while longer. Doesn't take much elbow grease, just a little bit of love. All right, we'll be back in a little bit. So it's been about 10 minutes since we originally sprayed on this Fast Etch, and yeah, I think it's working pretty good. So this is only after 10 minutes. After about a half an hour, you're gonna notice that this stuff has really worked and there's not gonna be a whole lot of rust left. But we're not just gonna tell you about it, we're gonna do it. Might need a new Scotch-Brite here soon. And this is why I like Fast Etch for surface rust. After about 30 minutes, you can see almost all the rust is gone. A couple small spots left where we probably had some more severe rust. In that case, you can do one of two things. You can come back with a DA with like 80 grit. That'll knock it down. Or if you wanted to, spray a little more Fast Etch, hit it with a Scotch-Brite again. Be taken care of, no problem. The one thing you do want to note, you want to wipe this off with pre-painting prep or acetone to neutralize it before you spray on any other coating like your primer, the rust encapsulator, whatever you're going to apply. You don't really want it to dry. If you do let it dry, it's going to have this like white residue that leaves behind, and it's not going to play nicely with any coating that you put down. If you do get it and it dries and you forget about it or you miss some, what you can do is actually just take some Fast Etch and re-wet it. re-wet it, and then take your pre-painting prep reacts and wipe it down. But that was after about 30 minutes with almost no effort put into it. So yeah, Fast Etch, if you're doing surface rust, #1 pick right there. Now let's move over here and we're gonna check out and see how rust converter works on this hood. All right, next thing we're doing, rust converter. So the coolest thing about this stuff is it actually just turns the rust into a paintable surface. So when you spray it on, a chemical reaction happens, it turns the rust here into a more stable iron oxide. So basically preventing rust and corrosion from coming back. The cool thing about this stuff is when you're done, you can go ahead, spray it with pre-painting prep, wipe it down, and then it's ready to be top coated. So if you're gonna come back with like a rust encapsulator over top of this, once you hit it with pre, let that dry, go ahead and top coat it. Let's go ahead, we're gonna spray it on. We're gonna let it sit here for a little bit, see how long it takes to work, and then we'll show you the results when it's done. So I did spray it out of the actual quart container here with the spray nozzle. This comes in an aerosol and you can buy it in a gallon jug. Once I applied it, I just took a paper towel, went through, spread it all around to make sure it was hitting the rust evenly and everything was laying down nice and flat. So let's go ahead, we'll let this wait, we'll be back in a little bit, check it out. All right, so you just saw I reapplied some stuff and took just a little brush, spread it around. So in the first 10 or so minutes, you'll actually see the rust kind of absorb some of this stuff. Now it's gonna continue working, but I just wanna make sure I have nice even coverage across the whole panel. So after the second time you apply this, you really should be good to let this sit overnight. We're gonna show you the results in about an hour, but this is one of those things that the longer you let it sit, the better it works. So we'll come back in a little bit and check this out. All right, so at this point, you can see all the areas where this is getting kind of absorbed into the rust and that chemical reaction's happening, so it's turning black. It's been probably like a half an hour, 40 minutes at this point. The best thing you wanna do is just let this sit overnight. You can come back in like 24 hours and this is all gonna be black. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna continue on to this side. I'll come back in the morning and we'll show you exactly what this looks like and how it's gonna be ready to be painted over. But until then, let's hit up with the rust dissolver. All right, last thing we're gonna use, rust dissolver. Cool part about this is that it comes in like a liquid formula and then a gel formula. So we're using the gel because it's gonna kind of cling to this surface, which has kind of a slope. It's gonna wanna fall off. The liquid formula, you could use that if you are more interested in submerging parts, nuts, bolts, stuff like that. So it's very easy to apply. We're gonna put this on, brush it across the panel, throw some plastic on it to keep it wet, and we'll come back here in a little bit and show you how it's working. All right, you can actually see it's starting to work a little bit already on this stuff, so it's not really gonna take too much. We're gonna cover this up. Come back in a little bit, see how it does. Full disclosure here, when I put this on, I realized it looks a little thin. And I was concerned, so I checked out the bottle and it was from 10 years ago. So it was one that's been in the back of our cabinet in the studio here. After 10 years, this stuff's gonna destabilize a little bit. It's not gonna work as good. So we got a brand new bottle, we'll apply it again, recover it up, and then we'll let it sit until tomorrow and come back, check it out. That is what it's supposed to look like. All right, so we're back on the rust dissolver. I was kind of messing with this just over top of the plastic and the rust is like falling off of it already. I should note, I was supposed to come in the next day. I ended up not being able to. So there's a couple parts of this where the plastic came up and the edges are a little dry. Any areas like this, we'll be able to probably go back and hit with rust dissolver one more time. If it stayed wet enough for long enough, the pre-painting prep might take it off. So we're gonna take this plastic off, spray it down, see what we can do. Oh yeah. So you can kind of see where it stayed wet and where it didn't. It's a little bit of pre-painting prep. Get it nice and wet. Scotch-Brite. So, just as I kind of thought, the edges right here that pulled up, it's a little dry, still got rust left. You could just go back, hit this with more rust dissolver if you needed to, but all the areas where it stayed wet, no rust. So it's ready to make sure you totally clean it off with pre-painting prep, come back, hit it with a DA, give it the tooth you need for whatever coating you're gonna lay down, but pretty hands-off way to get rid of some pretty serious rust. All right, so there was 3 different ways to remove rust. Now, you're probably not gonna use all of these on a hood like this, so where would you use each one, right? That's the confusing part people ask all the time. So Fast Etch, you're gonna wanna use it on a panel like this. This is something that has, no other coatings that we're worried about hurting. We have some filler here, but that's all gonna get pulled off eventually. It's got, mid to light surface rust throughout this whole panel, a little bit of time with the Scotch-Brite, and then you're gonna be ready to come back with the DA after you clean it up with pre, and you're gonna be able to come back and top coat it. Fast Etch, great option for something like this. Rust converter. Rust converter, in my opinion, is gonna be best used on more, mid to serious rust. So anywhere on your frame, suspension components, your control arms, harder to reach areas where you wanna coat everything, let it do its thing for 24 hours, convert into a paintable surface, and then come back with, say, a rust encapsulator or any top coat that you're looking to hit it with. That's gonna be my go-to. I would not use it on a panel like this. We just have the ability to remove the rust on something like this. So as we always say, if you can remove the rust, you should remove the rust. All right, and lastly, the gel dissolver. So this is gonna be great for anywhere where you have access because you're gonna need to wrap this in plastic for, a pretty serious amount of time. Anything like control arms that are still in the truck, you're obviously gonna have a hard time wrapping that plastic around. So anywhere where you have access to, again, it's gonna be good for that, mid-level rust. Submerging parts with rust dissolver is definitely the best use. So you can use the gel or the liquid formula. If you have an opportunity, nuts, bolts, we've done dashboards in it, that's gonna be the absolute best use for gel rust dissolver. So each one of these has their own little unique set of circumstances. They're all gonna do a good job in helping you either remove or convert the rust. Now, if you're looking for another option that's not gonna be necessarily converting or removing, but you want to encapsulate, we have an entire line of rust encapsulator pans. We got plenty of videos on those, so if you wanna learn more about that, head to our YouTube channel, check those out. Well, I hope this helped you guys. I know it can be kind of confusing when there's all these different types of formulas, but just remember, each one is a little unique and has a different purpose depending on your application. If you want more information about the products themselves, head over to eastwood.com or go to our YouTube channel to watch more videos. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch you later.